If you had asked 10-year-old me to describe the perfect Star Wars game, I would not have described Jedi Survivor. In fact, Jedi Survivor hardly checks any of the boxes I would have laid out. At least, not in the way I would have expected.
Hello, GuvNuhh.
I wanted to play through the prequel trilogy. I imagined slicing through battle droids, fighting iconic villains like Darth Maul, General Grievous, and Count Dooku, and essentially just hitting the big plot points of the prequel movies. The game checks the first box. Jedi Survivor will have you slicing through battle droids, stormtroopers, bounty hunters, raiders, monsters, and everything in between. While none of the story is borrowed from any of the films, Respawn managed to write a story with just as much heart as the best of Star Wars. This review will contain spoilers, so consider this your warning. Jedi Survivor improved on its predecessor in every way. More force powers, both for combat and traversal, more enemy types, more difficult scenarios, new combat stances, the ability to mount certain species, and the much needed addition of fast travel. The new lightsaber stances are one thing I never would have thought of as a kid, well, except maybe for the dual wielding after seeing General Grievous in Revenge of the Sith, and yet they make so much sense in the universe. Now, we don't see some of these stances in the movies at all, but the universe is a big place, so of course someone in the galaxy would be modifying their weapons and trying new things out. It's a great example of how Respawn expanded the universe without bastardizing the source material. There's a lot more to do in this game, with actual side quests available, lots more cosmetics and customization options to find, a bigger garden with more seeds, an aquarium to fill, platforming and combat challenges scattered throughout the various worlds, and a bigger area to explore. They even added a mini-game called Holo Tactics, where you place troops on the field using battle points and watch them fight it out with your opponent's troops.
This is not going to go well.
The bounty hunter aspect from the first game has been fleshed out a lot to include significantly more bounty hunters, and this time you're the one doing the hunting, working your way up to the top of the Haxian brood. I really like that aspect because the random bounty hunter encounters in the first game were one of my favorite aspects.
Good.
This game takes place between the prequel and original trilogies, and they found a way to include enemies from both eras without any of it feeling out of place. Separatist droids are still a threat as they've been commandeered by the Bedlam Raiders who now plague the planet Kobo. It's not uncommon to come across raiders and their droids fighting against the planet's wildlife or Empire forces. From the opening sequence, this game really feels like Star Wars, much more so than Fallen Order did in my opinion. This feeling carries through the entire story. While Fallen Order felt tangentially related to Star Wars, this one feels like a top-tier Star Wars story. You got a face-to-face with a shady senator, lots of lightsaber fights, silly droid dialogue, and a lovable cast of characters. Somehow, the game managed to make me fall in love with some new characters in the opening sequence, and they were killed off shortly thereafter. While I felt the game was somewhat predictable at first, there were plenty of times where my expectations were subverted. For example, Cordova's still alive? Dagan Gera isn't the final boss? Bode used to be a Jedi and he's the real final boss? You get to play as Seer for a bit? If you played Fallen Order, I'm sure you'll remember the ending of the game, where Darth Vader appears and fucks shit up. His power is insurmountable, and any attempt to fight him is met with instant death. In Jedi Survivor, after the reveal that Bode is your enemy, Cal's out of commission for a bit, and the reins are passed to Seer. After fighting off a large number of Imperial forces, the sequence culminates in another Darth Vader appearance. Of course we get a sick intro cutscene for Vader, but the surprise is that we get a true boss fight this time around. Fighting Vader is as epic as I hoped it would be and was a huge surprise. Given his presentation in the first game, I figured he'd be just as untouchable this time around. We know how Vader dies in Return of the Jedi, and so we know Seer can't win this battle. But the game has the decency to let you empty that health bar of his before we get a satisfying Seer death cutscene. And don't get me wrong, Darth Vader's no pushover in this game either. They show that through the atmosphere and intensity of the fight, his moveset, the difficulty of the encounter, and the most effective method in my opinion, the mid-fight cutscenes. So while the story didn't match up with what I would have asked for as a kid, I really couldn't ask for anything better than what they delivered. And every gameplay complaint I had about the first game was addressed and alleviated this time around, resulting in what I feel is a perfect Star Wars game. Do you agree? Disagree? What was your favorite part of the game? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.
You're trying to hurt me.
Hello, Governor.